As someone who has done music video shoots, quite a few, not just for myself, but for my clients as an attorney, but I'm also a creator. Music video shoots can get very complicated and some bad stuff can happen. And so if you are doing anything as far as promoting your stuff and doing visualizers and music videos, this is what you want to watch and to understand and to know so you can stay legally protected and have the most efficient shoot. So the first thing I want to talk about is just, with budgeting nightmares. It's obvious to say, know your budget, but people don't talk about this as much as far as you need to actually write something out and have a discretionary portion of the budget. So what I mean is that you don't want to find yourself halfway through pre-production and you have purchased the wardrobe and you have the set design and the fog machine and the equipment and all of the lights and all the things. And then maybe you didn't really have the location booked.
Right.
And it turns out the location is going to cost you twice as much. And everything else is set. Everyone is scheduled. Everything is rented. So what do? Well, I mean, you pay the money, right? Unfortunately, you can get in these situations where people end up kind of taking advantage of you because you had a budget issue and then you had a time issue. Okay, so when it comes to kind of thinking about this, one other thing I really would, stress, please consider your crafty and just food in general. I did a little mini poll on my last production. I asked everyone, what's the most important thing on a music video production to you? And a lot of the people just said food.
Right.
People want to be fed. Fair enough. But, even that, like making sure people are fed and it's good food, it's not just crap pizza, takes money. So anyway, those are my thoughts. When it comes to budgeting, what do you think?
And I think it's just incredibly important. And I love how you hit on, thinking of your crew and just you're not expecting to, oh, now I have to feed all of these people and you didn't budget for that kind of money. So I would also budget to have a little extra money the day of the shoot because fog machines break. Somebody's got to go run to, Guitar Center real fast and go grab a quick fog machine. So you need to have money for that. And you just yeah, definitely that's something that your eyes and your dreams can be real big, but when it comes down to the video shoot, not everybody has chipped in. And like if you're in a band situation and you're waiting for I've had this situation, everybody's got to chip in $200 for the music video, and then you're kind of waiting to get everybody's money the day of, and then of course your guitar player is short $100 or something, like sorry bro, it's all I got. Like you got to get that stuff organized and everybody needs to be professional.
That's right. So then, the other kind of dark side of music videos that we just have to talk about is when you have disorganized crews. So, personal experience here, one of my productions, this was the first and last time this happened. I don't always have extra people for cast, right? So actual talent in the video, but we did.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the models showed up, I think it was like an hour and a half to 2 hours late. And so that was, strike number one. Don't be late because you missed your entire, shot section. But then, this person was kind of being a diva and, wanted special treatment and the makeup artist and all this stuff, which we had there. And so it was just a whole thing. So when you have people who are showing up late, it messes up shots, it causes frustration, it ruins the scheduling. And so having really clear communication is important in pre-production. And so actually having those meetings prior to doing the actual shoot are more important than you think. And then on the day of, having a line producer or a production manager, whatever you want to call them, but you have one person that is to be the brat, okay, and needs to yell at everyone about the schedule. Where are we at? What are we doing? There has to be that person because on shoots, I gotta tell you, it's just so fun.
You're not gonna be able to do it.
It's so fun, and you're talking, and you're getting your hair done, and you're with your friends, and it's creative, and all this stuff. And so all of a sudden, you're 4 hours behind, and it's 3 a.m., and you just want to pass out.
It's definitely something that you need someone that feels very comfortable, just kind of going up to people, different members of the crew, and just keeping them on task. You're in such a creative environment, and you can have all the shot lists, you can have all the planning, whatever you got every second accounted for if you have your call sheet. But when you're there and you're being creative with a bunch of creative people have ideas, people are talking, people are discussing new ways to do things and trying and experimenting, and would be cool. And then you end up falling behind. And so it is a delicate balance between keeping people on task and letting the creativity dictate your time a little bit. but you got everyone's got to be on the same page of we're trying to be efficient and creative at the same time.
Yeah, and then this, we're gonna talk in a second about just what contracts you need to have, but let's talk about production insurance. So you don't have to have this every time. If you don't have it, you run the risk that someone's gonna sue you, the location owner, the talent, the crew. But you can get 1-day insurance policies. So for example, I try to make this a habit, and in the instance, for example, we had rented out an entire water park,
Yeah.
and this was for my music
Awesome.
video
It's
called Focused All Night. And Focused All Night, I am a zombie killer. And it was amazing. So we had the entire water park to ourselves. We had probably like between
it was abandoned. It was
I
not
would say
abandoned.
like 30 to 40, maybe 30 to 40 people who were just coming on and off set. And so we just had to think about things like security, keeping everyone there safe, making sure
Yeah.
everyone was accounted for. But I absolutely got insurance because that was a big production. Now, when I do like small skeleton crew productions where there's like 4 or 5 of us, I might not get insurance in those instances, but that's why and when you might want to actually get insurance.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're taken care of. But yeah, I invite everybody to go take a look at that Focused All Night music video.
You're
That
right.
was so much fun. Um the water park was closed down at the time, and so like it was completely drained and stuff. And so we had this just abandoned looking water park, post-apocalyptic thing going on for a few days. It was pretty awesome.
Well, and to Salter's point about check the props before filming, let's talk about poor quality equipment. This is something that can go very wrong on music video productions. So, let's talk about the basic stuff like invest in good cameras, right? So if you're
Right.
using equipment or lights that go out and things don't work, I this just comes to mind. So I had a music video, it's called Holy Water, and the first day that we did production on this, we were in a pool. And the idea was that we were converting the pool and creating this look with like some fog, and we had lights. And so we
Uh,
spent like a couple $100 purchasing these lights that would go at the bottom of the pool and would, push light up. So it didn't look like a pool, right? We wanted to just look like endless water. So like, we get the lights. I had to get the special batteries. It was this whole thing. We're so excited. We get in, we're ready to shoot. We turn on the thing and like they broke.
yeah.
So,
Right away.
yeah, it was just like a right away thing. And so in those instances, you have to just kind of go with the flow, but equipment matters and
And
having
that
backup is really important.
and the cool thing about that is, or not cool thing, but the funny thing about it is, or tip that you can take from it is, even though the footage of that, actually none of that day footage or any of that footage from the pool made it into the actual music video.
That's
So
right.
because we had so many problems, but we did shoot enough footage, and so what we did was made another version of it, just of that footage, just as like you could see what we didn't use or whatever, like as like outakey kind of
Yeah,
things.
we ended up
We still
using it for
made
just
content.
additional promotion. And PS, as far as just like environmental struggles, if you are cast and crew, you got to be ready to sweat or freeze. Like
Yeah.
I'm telling you, one of two
Yeah.
things is always happening. And for this one, we were in like 50-degree water. It was freezing. I'm in this
Yeah.
like bikini, and I was just like, shivering and shaking and all the things. And it's totally fine. Like you just go with the flow. And then, the whole thing didn't work out. All of our effort,
Yeah.
everything we did, we didn't even use it. But again, you have to make that judgment call. As like a creator, just because you put in the time and froze to death, who cares? Like if
And
it's not
that's
good, don't release it.
I love that. And sometimes that's a hard thing to do because especially if you're spending money and you're, whatever, or it's just hard to let go. You put a lot of effort into it, but sometimes you got to make that hard call. But like I said, you can always try to find a way to repurpose it so you could still, so it's maybe not a complete loss, but go, oh, look what we never released, or look at why we didn't think this worked. What do you think? And it's still content that can get engagement on your social media.
Yeah, so Ghoul9 was asking, how expensive is it to rent a whole place like a water park or maybe abandoned warehouse?
Depends.
So, great question. So on this, be a business person. In this case, the water park was closed, and so they were off season. So I went in and I go, "Who's the owner?" I go, "What can I pay you?" And it wasn't even that. I didn't even keep it open ended. I go, "I will pay you," and I threw out a number like $500. I go, "I need it for one day. I need the whole water park, and I need to not be bothered." And so we finagled and negotiated, and I think it landed like 600 or something. So that's what it was. And for a location of any kind, Like that is a stupidly
Mhm.
low cost, but they were like, sure, I'll take your money. We're not doing anything anyway. So it's also strategy, tactic, how you come at it, and obviously just being respectful. This is what we're going to do. This is who I am. Here's my EPK.
Right.
Anyway, so make sure
But
you
being
have your
professional and
equipment. That's
going
your
down
point.
there, go down there. Like, I love that, just make it happen. You can't just you never know. All they could say is no. And then find another location, but shoot for it. You never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes people like the guy that when we did it, they were just excited that we were gonna do it. They're like, oh wow, this is gonna be so cool. Like we just want you, we would love for you to do something cool here like that.
All right, so then let's talk about contracts for a second because these are the ultimate, like where you start, you finish. They are your safety nets. They are all the things. And there was a question about this. So we'll start with Winston's question, which was, are you at the point where you're making your staff work for hires, independent contractors, sign NDAs so they don't release any unauthorized footage of the actual work in question?
This is
What do you
great.
mean, are we at the point? This was day
That's great.
one for me.
Yeah.
Like when I was 16 and doing my first music video, this was in my contract right away because you don't want to spoil things. And people get really excited to share when they're working on something with you. And so they'll just ruin it. And then, everyone has seen your music video location and, what's going on. So you do have to be clear about this. You have to say it,
Yep.
use your mouth. Okay.
Yep.
Use your face and say the words so they know, but also have it in your contract. So, speaking of contracts, you have to have pretty much the two most important documents. One is a location agreement. Have an agreement
Yep.
for what you're shooting because someone else owns that. And you want to make sure that's clear. So, location agreement and then a crew agreement, which
Yes.
should be the document that everyone who steps on your production signs.
Yes.
And it's going to have things in it like non disclosure, confidentiality, non disparagement.
You're right.
Okay. So if they don't like you and they just want to say something later, they need to not do that because now it's a breach of contract if they do. And so I get my producer to walk around and every single person has to sign.
No, that's so important, and you got to get it done. Jen wrote something about safety. Yeah, you gotta make sure that your productions are really safe as well. That when you're talking to everybody, that everybody knows the count. And sometimes we've had situations where we've actually had security as part of our crew as well. So that's something that's also kind of overlooked. It just depends what kind of music video that you are shooting. If you were like opening it up to hey fans, if you want to be in my music video this weekend, just come on down. Well, you have to take into account special for them as well. They also have to be signing things. They have to be understanding what they're
Yeah.
doing. If you have minors on the set, you have to have a parent there. Like there's all kinds of different contracts and things that you need to think about. But we should do a whole video on NDAs at some point. I think that would be really good so people understand how those work as well.
It's funny. I need to go back and find all of my footage that I have because we're talking about this zombie music video for Focused All Night that we did. And besides the production day, there's still lead up. There's multiple days of like auditioning because we needed to audition
Yeah,
each
we
of
did
the
audition.
zombies.
Yep, that was fun.
Each of the zombies that you see, so we had an audition day and people come, they have their resumes, they have their headshots. And I mean, it's pretty uncomfortable doing auditions anyway because you're like in this weird small space doing something somewhat kind of intimate if you're crying or yelling or expressing some kind of emotion. And so we have these people going and just being zombies and it was just so fun. And like some of them were just terrible, like really terrible. And I'm not a very good zombie, so I'm not even like trying to compare myself in any kind of way, but just it's like I didn't believe it. But then there were some people who were amazing. So we cast and they came out, and then we had the special effects artists who did all of the makeup and the blood. One of the funniest things was with the props. So we had one prop where you'll see I'm stabbing. His name's Josh. I love Josh. So in the scene, I'm like, I stabbed Josh. I think it's like in the shoulder or something. And I had a retractable knife, right? So like one of those that you get at a party store or something. And so the thing was that it just
Yeah,
malfunctioned and
it
it
wouldn't
didn't
retract.
it didn't retract a couple of times. So there was a few times I was like, ah, and he's like, ah. So in any case, so when it comes to basically things to avoid when it comes to doing your music videos and staying safe, really the top tip is have your contracts and so you can stay protected. I love the insurance thing. When appropriate,
Yeah.
please get your 1 day insurance coverage and then just be careful when it comes to having a team that's tight, have your pre-production meetings, have a solid budget because you're always going to go over stuff and surprises always come up. And with all those things in mind, you are going to have a fantastic shoot.